Watering is one of the most important things you can do for your plants. It helps them grow strong roots, absorb nutrients, and produce abundant fruits and vegetables. However, watering raised garden beds can be tricky. You need to find the right balance to keep your plants healthy and hydrated without overwatering or underwatering them. Overwatering can lead to root rot, fungal diseases, and nutrient deficiencies. When the soil is constantly wet, it creates an environment where harmful pathogens thrive. This can damage or even kill your plants. On the other hand, underwatering can stress your plants, making them more susceptible to pests and diseases. Without enough water, your plants will wilt, their leaves will turn brown and crispy, and their growth will be stunted. The good news is that with a little knowledge and practice, you can master the art of watering your raised garden beds. By following the tips in this essay, you can ensure that your plants have the moisture they need to thrive. You can enjoy a bountiful harvest from your garden. Knowing the right amount of water to give your plants takes practice and observation. Start by checking your plants daily and monitoring their growth. Look for signs of overwatering or underwatering, and adjust your watering schedule accordingly. Remember, every garden is different, and the best way to learn is by paying attention to your plant's needs. With a little care and attention, you can create a thriving garden that brings you joy for years to come. For more tips and sustainable gardening practices, visit Fred's Sustainable Gardening. Let's grow a greener future together. Raised garden beds offer many benefits such as better drainage, improved soil structure, and easier access for gardening. However, these same features also mean that raised beds have unique watering needs compared to traditional in-ground gardens. The first factor is drainage. Raised beds tend to drain faster than in-ground gardens because the soil is not compacted by foot traffic. This is generally a good thing, as it prevents waterlogging and root rot. However, it also means that raised beds need to be watered more frequently, especially during hot, dry weather. The second factor is the exposed surface area. Raised beds have a larger exposed surface area than in-ground gardens, which means that the soil dries out more quickly. This is especially true if the beds are made of wood, which can wick moisture away from the soil. Finally, the soil composition of raised beds can also affect their watering needs. Raised beds are typically filled with a loose, fertile soil mix that drains well. However, if the soil mix is too sandy, it will drain very quickly and require frequent watering. Conversely, if the soil mix is too heavy in clay, it may retain too much water and increase the risk of root rot. Understanding these unique watering needs of raised beds is crucial for successful gardening. By adjusting your watering practices to account for these factors, you can create an ideal environment for your plants to thrive. The best time to water your raised garden beds is early in the morning. Watering in the morning allows the plants to absorb the moisture throughout the day, reducing the risk of fungal diseases that thrive in humid conditions. When you water in the morning, the sun is low in the sky, and the temperatures are cooler. Watering in the evening can be problematic because it leaves the foliage wet overnight. This creates a favorable environment for fungal diseases to develop. If you must water in the evening, try to water only the base of the plants and avoid wetting the leaves. Watering in the middle of the day is generally not recommended. This is because the sun is at its peak, and much of the water you apply will be lost to evaporation before it can soak into the soil. By making it a habit to water your raised beds early in the day, you can minimize water loss, reduce disease pressure, and ensure that your plants have access to the moisture they need to grow strong and healthy. How to tell when your raised beds need watering. Before you grab your watering can or hose, it's essential to check if your raised beds need watering. Overwatering can be just as detrimental as underwatering. There are a few simple methods you can use to determine the moisture level of your soil. The finger test. The finger test is a quick and easy way to gauge the moisture level of the soil. Simply stick your index finger into the soil up to your first knuckle. If the soil feels dry, it's time to water. If it feels moist, you can hold off on watering for another day or two. Visual cues. Another way to tell if your raised beds need watering is to look for visual cues. Wilting leaves are a sure sign that your plants are thirsty. However, it's important to note that some plants naturally wilt slightly during the hottest part of the day, even if the soil is moist. By using these simple methods, you can avoid overwatering or underwatering your raised beds. Remember to check the moisture level regularly, especially during hot, dry weather. How much water do your raised beds need? The amount of water your raised beds need will depend on several factors, including the type of plants you're growing, the weather conditions, and the soil composition. As a general rule of thumb, most vegetables and herbs need about an inch of water per week. You can measure the amount of water your plants are receiving by using a rain gauge or a straight-sided container placed near your plants. Aim to water deeply and less frequently, as this encourages the roots to grow deeper into the soil. Another important factor to consider is water output. Use a watering can with a measured capacity or a water meter attached to your hose to determine how much water you are applying. This will help you avoid overwatering and ensure that your plants are getting the right amount of moisture. By monitoring your watering practices and adjusting them based on the needs of your plants, you can create an optimal environment for growth and productivity. Choosing the right watering method for your raised beds. There are several different methods you can use to water your raised garden beds, each with its own pros and cons. Watering cans. Watering cans are a good option for small raised beds. They allow for precise watering, making them ideal for delicate seedlings and newly planted seeds. Hoses. Hoses are a more efficient option for larger raised beds. However, be careful not to use too much pressure, as this can damage delicate plants and erode the soil. Soaker hoses. Soaker hoses are a great way to deliver water directly to the root zone of your plants. They are also very efficient as they minimize water loss through evaporation. Drip irrigation. Drip irrigation is the most efficient watering method, as it delivers water directly to the roots of your plants, one drop at a time. Drip irrigation systems can be more expensive to set up initially, but they can save you water and money in the long run. The best watering method for your raised beds will depend on your individual needs and preferences. Consider the size of your beds, the types of plants you're growing, and your budget when making your decision. Using mulch to conserve water and improve soil health. Mulching is one of the best things you can do for your raised garden beds. Mulch is any material that is spread over the surface of the soil. It helps to retain moisture, regulate soil temperature, suppress weeds, and add organic matter to the soil as it breaks down. There are many different types of mulch available, including straw, wood chips, shredded bark, and compost. Choose a mulch that is appropriate for your plants and your climate. For example, straw is a good choice for vegetable gardens, while shredded bark is a better option for flower beds. Apply a 2 to 3 inch layer of mulch around your plants, being careful not to pile it up against the stems. Mulch will help to keep the soil moist and cool, which will benefit your plants in many ways. By incorporating mulch into your gardening practices, you can create a healthier and more resilient garden that requires less watering and maintenance. Visit Fred's Sustainable Gardening for more tips and products to help you create the garden of your dreams.